welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. I see my own brother, Mr. Sapolosia. How are you, brother?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Thank God for another day.
All right, I see you dressed like a Parliament chief today, man.
Yes, sir. We got to show what Liberia is and represent
Okay,
Liberia all
all
the way.
right. Yeah, I'm dressed like a miracle Liberian, man. You can
Okay,
see.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So we can hit this road. Let me introduce our people to ourselves, to our people, and then you can come up with what you need to do.
Okay.
So good afternoon, Liberians in Radio Land or Facebook and YouTube. Welcome again to another segment of Politics 101, where we're going to discuss issues concerning Liberia. Or as we go take a quick break and come back, we're going to discuss our identity politics versus opposition political parties. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and please share our broadcast to with your friends, family, loved ones, and all your fans. We'll be right back.
Oh, hail Liberia, hail. Oh, hail Liberia, hail. This glorious land of liberty shall long be out. The new name, great be her fame, and mighty be her powers. Oh, 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 hail, oh, hail. Oh, hail, oh, hail, oh, hail, the Lone Star forever. Oh, hail, Liberia, oh, hail, Liberia, hail. In union strong, success is sure. We cannot fail with God's up above. Our eyes to prove we will, yeah, prevail. Oh, hail, Liberia, oh, hail. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Oh, hail, the Lone Star forever. Hey, hey, hey. In union strong, success assured. We gotta love one another, pull together, 'cause this glorious land shall long be ours. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah. We gotta stand together. We gotta hold together with our hearts united.
All right.
So good afternoon again, our people in Radio Land, Facebook Land, and YouTube Land, and wherever you are following us on the social media. Again, this is 2023 in the Republic of Liberia. This is the year of election. And this year, many of our citizens are charged with the responsibility to make decisions that will build or bring a setback to Liberia's posterity. It is our civil responsibility as Liberians, whether you are directly participating or indirectly participating in the elections, It is our responsibility to educate ourselves about the values we hold dear to our hearts. And I believe that value, in my view, believe is Liberia. And Liberia, as I define it, is a place, a country where everything concerning policies, concerning economic values, concerning religious value must be Liberia first. Okay. And Liberia first means all Liberians should fully participate in the development and enjoy the natural resources that the God of our ancestors bless us with. So today, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through our discussion, I want us to be reminded of a quote of Malcolm X, where he says, and I quote, "The future belongs to those who prepare for it today." So if we want to develop our country, where our country will take a new trajectory, we need to think about Liberia first. And that is putting all Liberians' values at the forefront, where each and every one of us will be responsible and accountable for our actions when it comes to development, and as we also enjoy the resources of our country. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you for joining us today, and we want you to please share the live stream on your social media and with your friends on YouTube. You can also follow us on YouTube. And in the future, we're going to be collaborating with other radio stations in Liberia, but that is for the future. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say welcome to Politics 101 on Liberia Shall Rise. And if Liberia shall rise, we all have to be a part, and we need to understand the difference between opposition political parties in their responsibilities and that of identity politics that is unfolding in Liberia. With that, Brother Steve, can you join us and let us unfold some of these things that are happening in our country?
All right, brother. Thank you again for that great intro. I really like it. But I just want to let viewers know we finally have a partnership with Big FM in Liberia, 103.9. So if you can be on Facebook, turn your radio to 103.9, and every Saturday at 7 p.m. in Liberia, actually at 6 p.m. in Liberia, every Saturday we'll be live on air on Big FM, so you can join us. All right. Okay, brother, let's go into the show. I think this is an interesting discussion. For the first time, I'm delving into history. I'm now becoming a historian, and you can see. Yeah, so I would like to know, though, let's delve into the history of identity politics first before we go to the opposition party. I mean, we cannot talk about one without the other anyway, because uh, it identity is based on something different, right? So so we cannot talk about one without the other. So I will let you get started. Let's look at what is identity politics first, then we can go into Liberia's history of how long identity politics been in Liberia.
Yes. So before we go for it, I want to ask the reason some of us decided to bring this topic up front is because I think, like in Liberian politics, and it's not limited to Liberia now, because we've seen this trend in America for the last at least 16 years. Because since 2008, identity politics started crawling in when Obama was elected as president in America. But for us in Liberia, it's an ugly term. It's been in existence for a long time, and we have never tried to understand. But for we as Liberians to understand the difference between identity politics and opposition political parties. And the reason we chose this topic and the context for which we are going to discuss this is a little different from what we see in the America. So let us first of all define what it means to be an opposition, right? If we define opposition, just to give some synonymous words to that, it will tell you to oppose, right? Because it derived from the word oppose, which means to be against, to disagree, to disapprove, to put an end, or to prevent somebody from accomplishing whatever they want to accomplish, right? And then when you look at identity just means closeness, similar, or alignment, oneness, closeness, and things of that nature. So identity politics is identifying yourself with a group of people or beliefs. It could be based on ethnics, it could be based on religion, it could be based on racial values and things of that nature. Now, what does that have to do with our politics of today? And that's what we want to dive into today. I know we're going to go into some history and see of the Liberian history when it comes to identity politics as they have been. But after that brief history, I really want us to understand how identity politics have grown root in Liberia and what is the danger that is going to impose on our future election as we go forward. So, Mr. Steve, is he on?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
here.
So let us look at the historical context from whence you come when it comes to identity politics, and then after that we'll come to current day values of identity versus opposition political parties, and we'll define it and see how we can relate to that as we move forward.
Okay, so thank you, brother. So first off, I want to take our viewers through a little history. Like I said, for this show, I had to be a historian. So when Liberia was first founded in 1847, we had the Republican Party that actually established Liberia. When the Republican Party established Liberia, there was some form of identity politics in there because the Republican Party was composed of people that were blacks but that were of European descent. So mulatto and all those kind of people were part of the Republican Party. So for a long time, for about 23 years, the Republican Party ruled Liberia, having a lot of the mulattoes people in there, people we call Concord and things that are people that have mixed race. They were the one that were running Liberia. Then after that, somewhere later, the True Weeks Party got founded. Then the True Weeks Party actually elected the first real black person like that wasn't mixed race. The True Weeks Party consisted of people that were actually black. So that was when identity politics started. So we had a Republican Party, which was mixed of mulatto, white, and mixed race people, and then True Weeks Party was the actual dark skinned folks, and they were the opposition to the Republican Party. But once the True Weeks Party took over, as you see, there was no opposition. They became a one-party state completely. They kind of annihilated all other parties. Basically, they didn't stop parties from forming, but any election that took place, they basically won. So they kind of had a system in place for them to win all election. Later on, it was when Backup Matthew introduced the Progressive Alliance of Liberia, later on renamed to United People's Party. So as you will see going forward, parties have their own things, like they have a system that they rely on, and because of this system they own so many things, and even churches become kind of like part of political party. And at the death of Backup Matthew, you can see here they said he couldn't even get buried by the Baptist church because after he opposed Talbot, they kind of kick him out of the Baptist church. So a Catholic priest actually had to do the eulogy for Bacchus Matthew when he died. That's how deep identity politics can get. So I'm going to bring my brother on screen and we can go a little bit into this then before we go to the next side. We'll show the presidential elections and things that happen in history.
Yeah, so like Mr. Keller is a historic man for me. I like to be in present time, reflecting on history. So again, like you rightly said, based on what we have seen in Liberia over the past years, as we'll go through those PowerPoints that he will present. But I want us to look at what it means to be an opposition, right? And what I really want we all that are listening, those that will participate in this, is to ask ourselves, do we have opposition political parties in Liberia? That is the question I really want us to look at and see what is the value of the opposition in Liberia. Are we practicing as opposition political parties, or are we just practicing as identity or identifying ourselves with a political party? Which one is more that we reflect in Liberia, right? In my opinion, having followed Liberian politics for a while, we are more of identity politics or political parties than we are of opposition. Because if you look at today's opposition, quote unquote, in Liberia, most of them they are not driven by policies. They are driven by names, connections, okay, I'm a Pele man. If I establish a political party, then I expect all the Pele people to follow me. If my brother Steve is a Bassa man, we create a political party, then all of the those are Bassa. Like right now, we hear the Liberty Party is all about people saying, "Oh, we want Bassa men to be in the driving seat of something." So it's not based on opposition. It's not based on policy-driven ideology. Rather, it's about identifying with who I am connected to. So Liberians need to understand the difference between an actual opposition political parties and the role that it plays in the governance system and what we are practicing in Liberia, which is, in my belief, identity politics, which does not really benefit the country as a whole. An actual opposition political party will have let me say, a ground that we can work with, or policy that we can work with to force the government to implement things. However, when we have identity political parties, it's all about what I can get. Okay, and a simple example is what was brought to light during the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf election. Or administration. During her term, we understood that the brown envelope had a lot of voice in the legislature when it comes to concession agreement than any policy that was done by any opposition political parties. And that's one of the aspects that makes identity politics very dangerous, because you are not driven, you are not moved, you are not focused based on policies. You are just going by what you, as an individual that identify with the leadership or the connection that you have. That's all you want, the benefit that you can get as an individual, rather than based on policy or civil society ideology or community-based ideology that will foster our country to move forward. So those are things that I want us to pay attention to as we discuss this, as my brother will go again into a historical analysis.
Yeah, so before I go bring up another historical slide, I just want to tell people the danger of identity politics, right? If you just focus on identity and don't focus on policies that the political party is engaging in, at the end of the day, once that individual, right? Let's say we identify with Mr. Sapolucia as our God and Savior because he's a Pele man, I'm going to vote for him, right? And we form a party called United Pele People Party, UPP, right? All right. So now we have United Pele People Party led by Mr. Sapolucia. Once Mr. Sapolucia is gone, all the ideas that Mr. Sapolucia brought forth will die with his, like if he lost the election, basically everything he stood for goes with him, right? And that party just disappeared gradually. And that's what been happening to Liberia over time. But historically, though, I want to kind of give my hats off to the founding fathers of Liberia, because we had two parties, right? The Republican Party and the True Weeks Party. Those parties were neck and neck, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until 1980 when things went by after the coup and stuff like that. But because of the fact that they had something to present, they had something to they had plans to develop, they had structure in place, they were able to run the country for a very long time. And I'll just run over this quickly for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Then I'll bring my brother Sapolucia back so he can we can talk about it. All right. So in if you look at this quick election result here, right? 1863, we had Dana B. Warner elected, then Jean Spring, and then later on we have Hillary Rachel Wright Johnson. Now, Hillary Rachel Wright Johnson in the history of Liberia plays a key role, because Hillary Rachel Wright Johnson was what you call independence, right? Independent candidate. When you were running for the office for the first time in the history of Liberia, the True Weeks Party supported him, and the Republican Party supported him, because they were trying to come up with a truth that said, let's forget about this identity thing, whether I'm white or whether I'm mulatto or whether I'm black. And for the first time, the two parties, this guy went unopposed, Hillary Rachel Wright. He was the first Liberian to be elected that was an independent candidate, and he won the election. After he won the election, later on, then he turned back and said, all right, I'm a true Whig partisan. But after that, you will see that we have presidents from Joseph Jenkins Roberts, where Joseph Jenkins Roberts was the first president of Liberia. He went from 1847 to 1856 as a Republican Party person. But in that time, They had control of the entire government from the first president all the way to the ninth president. The Republican Party ran the country. I mean, the fifth president was Edward J. Ross, which was a two-week party person, but there was a constant fight between the Republican Party and the True Weeks Party. And then it happened that the True Weeks Party took over one time by Edward J. Ross, but the next time the True Weeks Party took over was Anthony W. Gardner in 1878. Once Anthony W. Gardner took over, the True Weeks Party said, hey, we got to own this thing. We will put in things in place to say, hey, Liberia belongs to based on our policies, we'll make sure we get elected all the time. I don't know if it was fraudulent election or if it was corruption or what, but from 1883 all the way to 1980 or 1971, the True Weeks Party ran Liberia. And based on that, I can say that whatever policies or whatever structures they had in place was part of that things that they did to run the country. And there was serious identity, because if you can see from that time all the way to the time that the government was over, I mean, it was just one person, a few people basically. After Tubman took over, basically, he stayed in power for almost 27 years, and then altogether, the True Weeks Party actually ran Liberia for over 100 years. You understand? So identity played a key role in Liberia beginning, and it's still going. But the sad thing is we're not building systems around this identity that we are creating. So this is what we want to talk about today, because this is dangerous. As you can see, everything that was done between the True Weeks Party and the Republican Party, as soon as they left office, everything disappeared. People that were in government, all of them left the country because of war, but they never came back immediately to start helping to do something after the war was over, because they were afraid of their lives. They were afraid of people killing them or something. But again, because of that identity, you identify with something. Once that thing falls, people target everybody that are part of that identity. Like, for example, our Civil War. Once those got elected, if you look on that paper, you have the NDPL. Once the NDPL came in, everybody that was trying to say, "Oh, this is our man now, right? We're gonna run the country. Our time to chop, right?" And I learned a new word the other day, Emin Loken. In Nigeria, it says it's our turn, right? Emin Loken is our time. So it's our time. Politics started a long time ago, but it's still going on. But what I give credit to the True Weeks Party and the Republican Party is they had some structure in place for development, for ensuring that their people kept getting re-elected, right? So that their policies and plans could be accomplished. I think that's the whole idea. Because if you don't have any policies, if you don't have any plan, and every year different political party keep coming up, it doesn't help the country. Mr. Sapolos here.
So yeah, and I wonder if you can go over all your historical data and stuff, and then let move into where I want us to discuss it, because it is very significant that we drive home a message that our Liberian people need to understand, especially when it comes to opposition, their role in government, in our democracy, let me put it that way, and what we're practicing that is causing us to lead or go the direction in which we are going. Right?
All right. So let me just show this one more slide, then we can just go into your thing, because I will keep you on the screen, because this is important in reference to what you want to talk about. If you look at this here, right, we have the Coalition for Democratic Change, which is the CDC. CDC is the ruling party right now, right? CDC consists of MPP, PDLP, I think PDLP, the People's Democratic Party of Liberia, MPP, and CDC. They were all part of that group that made up the CDC, right? Then you come to the CPP, which is the United Party, Liberty Party, All Liberian Party, Alternative National Congress, and things. I'm glad that Liberians are uniting, but what are we uniting towards? Is it just for the presidency, or do we have plans? Do we have structures that we are putting in place? Is there any kind of what they call this, a manifesto, right? That before you become a citizen, you got to sign this manifesto to say you're going to do this development, you're going to make sure that people's lives are changed. What are we uniting towards as political parties? You understand? And what structure do we have in place that such that when Alexander Cummings is no longer around, that the ANC can continue? When George Weah is no longer around, that the CDC can continue? You know, and the fact that everybody want to own a piece of the thing. If you look here, we have multiple parties. In this one small country, we have almost 30 political parties, right? And then if you look at, these are all parties that are recognized. This is an unrepresented parties. So you have other parties that are unrepresented. Why should we have so many political parties? That, and if you look at one thing I would like to highlight, Prince S. Jala, Vision for Liberia. That's his political party. So everybody think that they should start their own political party because they think they have the solution instead of partnering with other people to run, help develop ideas for the country. Everybody want to start their own thing. Mr. Sapulosia, this is all I wanted to share. And I think going this route, if all of us decide to form our political party instead of coming together to form one idea and support that idea, I think Liberia is in the wrong direction. This is going to hinder Liberia rising because we cannot rise if everybody want to have their own, everybody want to be president. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need other people in different areas. We don't need everybody to be president to make Liberia to rise. That's just what I wanted to share, brother.
Thank you, brother. So I know we're going almost halfway of our time, but I want us to really define what the role of opposition political parties, and let us think about whether it is happening in Liberia. Well, if you go and do the definition, or if you even look at other countries, like we who live in America, we see what the opposition do to the governing body. But before we go to that, this is something I want us to look into, and I want everybody who has political parties to look for their political party website. We are in 2021. 2023. Sorry. We are in 2023. It's an election year. Visit the four major opposition political parties. Two have a working website. One has a website that is focused on the political party but is outdated with information. One has a website that is somewhat updated but is just focused and only explains their candidate, not the political party agenda, just what the person, the standard bearer wants. And I hope as time goes by through the election, we'll have time to go and focus on each of these major political parties that are running for office in Liberia. And I will name some of them. Like if you go, let's look for ANC, for example. If you go to look for ANC as a political party, not Mr. Cummings. If you look for ANC, all you're going to see is ANC Global. But there is nothing about ANC as a political party without Mr. Cummings. So that means, in my opinion, when Mr. Cummings leaves or he gets mad and says, look, I'm leaving ANC today, and I'm going to remove all of those things that are put on the ANC website from there, then the ANC will have what I saw on Unity Party website. I say coming soon for more than 10 years, right? So, we have to be serious here, my people. We cannot have political parties calling themselves major political party, major stakeholders in the country, in a country that want to be serious for development, for economic growth, for healthcare growth, for role and networking with international communities. But we are not implementing, we are not holding ourselves accountable. This is 2023. We are in an election year. But if you go on all the political parties' website, those two that are named, you cannot find anything that is updated. Mr. Cummings is in Maryland today. You cannot find anything on the ANC website indicating Mr. Cummings is in Maryland, what he's doing there, what he has done. And if you go to the Unity Party, you will see they still have Muhammad Ali as Secretary General, even though he has not been Secretary General for at least 5 months. So that means these are not serious political parties. To be frank, if we really want to reach out to the people, I should be able to go on the Unity Party website, because and the reason I'm naming these political parties, because these are the top 2 and the top 4. The ALP don't have a website that you can watch, you can read. They only have Facebook page. The Liberty Party don't have a website that you can go to. They only have a Facebook page. And these are the 4 top opposition political parties in Liberia. Okay, MPP, we really don't count them anymore because they are part of the government, right? So tell me, if these people are not serious, they don't have a manifesto, like my brother said, can you tell me? I mean, I'm gonna focus on the opposition because we're talking about opposition versus how do you call this? Okay, we're talking opposition versus identity. Can you tell me that these people will give you anything in the absence of this standard bearer? You can't find anything. So what had ANC? What is the platform of ANC outside of Mr. Cummings? That means the political party does not exist without Mr. Cummings. So are we serious? And I follow some of these people who will talk about, oh, I support Mr. Cummings. They're not supporting the political party. And to see what your CDC, they see what most of the political parties, they're not supporting a political institution. They are only identifying with the individual that is there. And that is dangerous for our country. And that is why there's no difference between the government or the governing or ruling party and that of the oppositions, because they are all identical. So we have more of identity political party than we have of opposition political parties, because the role of opposition political parties is to challenge the government to enforce or implement policies that they are or they have promised to implement during their reign. But because they themselves do not have policies, there is nothing to hold somebody accountable for. And that is why, in my view, and this is just my opinion, and my opinion does not reflect the view of ANC, I mean, of any political party or the Liberation Rights, my family, or any relative of mine. It's my sole and only my own responsibility, and I hold responsibility for any views that I have and that I'm expressing. So it is my opinion that we do not have opposition political parties in Liberia, but we have identical political parties in Liberia. Because, and I can prove this. If you look at what's happening now, there are political parties who call themselves opposition political parties. And if you scroll down, Steve, if you go on the UP main page, it will tell you, it will indicate that you should click on a link for more information. When you click on that link, it carries you back to that top page. So like here, where you see, scroll down. So anytime you click for more information, it takes you back up there. So that means they have nothing. They have put this is an election year, and you can find nothing that the Unity Party have planned.
Okay, so now I just let's do it while we're here. So they say our party, our vision. At least if you click on some of these websites, I'm going to do the same for the ANC too, right? If you do it, you have things that are working on the top here. But like you're saying, this is an election year. You see coming soon. Our achievement, they said coming soon. Our legislative caucus. And stuff like that. So everything says coming soon. So basically, that's the not the UP website. That's just a quick browse.
Just go back to the hierarchy. Go to the hierarchy of Unity Party. Who do you see there as Secretary General? Mohammed Ali. Who do you see as Chairman? Those people are no longer part of the hierarchy of Unity Party. So how can you be a serious political party? Your simple website, you cannot update it in an election year to reflect your policy, to reflect what you want. And that is why I conclude that we do not have political parties or opposition political parties. We have identity political parties, because everybody are only identifying with the individual that is at the helm of the political party.
Yeah, and you state that correctly here, right? With ANC, right? They said meet ABC, which is Alexander B. Cummings, but you don't see what the political party stands for, what ANC stands for, right? You don't see it on here. So I'm trying to scroll down, view gallery, Twitter, and then that's it. You don't see anything that says about ANC, contact ANC Global, support, learn about Alex. So everything is about him, not about party, not different, So yeah, let me end this here. But we have our man in studio there. Let's see if he have anything before you go back to your continuation. Let's just hear from him quickly. Mr. Mr. Bono, how are you? Can you hear us? I think he's still
His mic is mute. He's muted.
okay. All right. So before you continue, brother, can you just answer this person question since we're on that topic, right? Um, this Facebook user said, "Do you think the multi-party system was good for Liberia, or should we still have the true weak party?"
Should we have still have this true? But yeah, I understand what that person is the question is. Yes, in my opinion, and based on the democracy, yes, I think multi-party system was good for Liberia. However, it was not structured. That's my opinion, right? It was not structured. In my view, people embrace the multi-party system without thinking of its benefits and its the pros and cons. We are considering, especially the cons, right? We should have, in my view, studied what it meant when we define multi-political party system. What are we going to consider a multi-political party system? Are we going to have a multi-party system where we have an opposition party, a strong opposition party, as opposed to as opposed to opposition parties? Because that's what we have. You know, one thing I was looking in at the Nigerian election in 2017, between 2017 2019, they had 91 political parties in a country where they have almost 150 million people, right? They had
Mhm.
91. For 2023 election, they have only 18 political parties.
Mm.
That is a huge difference. And that is why some of us think multi-party system is good for Liberia, but I think we should draw back our numbers. 20, no, it's too much. We should have a country like Liberia with less than 5 million. I know they say 5 million, but let's say 5 million people. We should have about 3 major political parties, in my opinion, so that we
But
can have a structure. Because if you
Mhm.
look at most of the political talks, because they don't have a platform, they don't have a manifesto, they don't have policy driven or agendas, but their talks, the ones that come out and say, almost every one of them are saying the same thing. So if you all are saying the same thing, why not just consolidate it to one political party as we have with ALP? But even if and hopefully we'll get time in the future to discuss the framework that brought up the so-called full political parties together to see how we can dissect that and understand why they broke apart, right? But if we are coming together, if we have, I'm going to build road, I'm going to provide job, everybody is doing the same thing. So why not we all come together, put our ideas, put our smart people in the room, and let us come up with policies, draw up policies that will govern our system of governance, and push that out instead of having 21 political parties just for power greed. So yes, to answer your question, multi-party system was good, but I think we went overboard with it. We should have had 3 or 4 political parties instead of 30 and 40, whatever number we have now.
Mhm. Yeah, and then the follow-up question, he says, since the TWP was ousted, what significant development has any other political party brought to Liberia, right? And I just want to go back to one of the slides that I had, right? If you look at this slide, let me take this question out. If you look at this slide from all the way to the top, from all the way to the top to this second to the last line, it was 2 political parties in Liberia, right?
Yeah.
But between the last party, all these different presidents were all part of different parties. Only George Weah, you can say, at least touched the MPP, right, which Taylor was part of, because MPP and Taylor and CDC merged. So George Weah, and then I think this was Julie Bryan when Taylor was ousted, they put him in there for interim, right? So
Yes.
he didn't really have a political party. And then now Ellen Johnson said we should unity party that is still going on. But because of the inconsistency of our political system and because of the war too, you can say these guys never really had a chance to play anything. But after the war, let's look at post-war. All the political parties that have been participating in elections, what I've seen from my layman experience is everybody is focusing on identity, right?
Yes.
If this man is a crime man, like for example, a good friend of mine was talking to me. He said, "Oh, with how you call it, the pape selecting somebody from Nima County,
Okay.
that means basically he's going to win the election because he's made the right decision. Nima had one of the biggest population in Liberia, so or because the man is from Nima, all the Nima people going to support him. So I said, in this day and age, are we still saying that because somebody is from a particular county and they are on a ballot, all of us will vote for that person just because that person is from Nima? And if we have that kind of mindset still in 2023, Liberia is set for a president for elections in the future. We will not have people that are sound. We will not have people that are intelligent enough to run the country, because we'll just put people that say, oh, if this county have a popular person, right?
Yes.
We'll put them there just because they will give us a number. And I said, no. And I was asking this person, I said, all right, the person is selecting as, the papa is selecting as vice president, what have he achieved as a senator? What is his portfolio, right? They couldn't tell me much. They just said, oh, this man is from Nima. So eventually the papa is going to win the election because he selected him. And I said, no, it shouldn't be that way, right? We should vet our politicians so that in order for us to look at something bigger for Liberia, because if we are looking at the big picture, we will not be talking about Gio, Mano, or Kwan politician. We'll be talking about which politician have the most skill, which politician have the most value to bring to Liberia. And based on that decision, then we select somebody.
Yes. So and that I want to address that person's question. I think she said what she said. He or she said the true value of Ulster is significant development. Now you see, and I'll be realistic here. It's not trying to downplay anybody and be real, but we got to be realistic. If you rule a country for 100 years and the only thing you can show is an executive mansion, that is not development. I don't care what anybody can tell me, what you want to tell me, right? There was no foundation laid by the True We Party that they can boast of and say we developed Liberia. Absolutely not. For 100 years. Because the only thing that, in fact, William V. Stubman himself said they gave him some millions of dollars from the American government and they charged him interest or whatever, and he built a mansion. If that is the only development that you would boast of, that is not a development for 100 years. But let us look at what foundation did they lay? The open door policy. What foundation was laid so that when future government come, they can build on it? Let us look at the Firestone contract. You gave Firestone a plantation, an acre of land for 25 cents, with nothing else added. Not build a factory, not build cars, not build tires, not nothing. Not train my people to fix rubber. So development is not just putting on infrastructure up. No. The paramount or the primary basis for development is the human capacity. If we can build our human capacity, anybody can build on that to build the infrastructure. But the True Party did nothing for Liberia, in my opinion, because 100 years and the only thing you could show is Broad Street, Monrovia, One Finance Ministry, and what else? I think those are the major buildings that the government own. Besides that, nothing. And maybe how they call it, Secretary Avenue, which would go through Congo Town, and I think it was completed by Toba. So that is, and that's the Republic of Liberia. That's just it. The University of Liberia. What development can we talk about with University of Liberia? Is still a little the government-owned national tertiary institution is a little place in sitting on the Capitol Hill. It was Doe that advanced it to Fanel. So what can we boast of? So the True Party, in my opinion, did not develop Liberia, did not do anything that we can boast of and say after 100 years, this is what we could build on. It was only based again on identity. What can work for me and my group of people? After that, there is nothing. All right. Now, after the True Party, have we had any development? Of course not. Well, I can boast of our own currency, because prior to the war, prior to William R. Stober, there was no Liberian currency. So at least go introduce something that we could talk about. We saw some kind of development that those started, but when it comes to African development, it has much more deeper undermining that does not even come from Africa. But it has to be done by Africans themselves. We have to take initiative to say, look, I want to develop my country and I want to support one another. Until Africa as a continent can recognize, and which is a different topic for another day, until Africa as a continent can recognize that, look, we have the resources and we need to sacrifice our time, our effort, and bring our children that have scattered all over the world back home and make them to be useful on our continent, the West will continue to undermine our development because they want us to be relying upon them for everything that we need or want. So the development of African countries, it has some underlying problems that until we can start reading books and reading our history, we'll try to, and then we'll start figuring out. But when it comes to the True Party, I don't believe the True Party really developed Liberia.
All right, so
That would set something for somebody to build on. Yes.
yeah, so thanks for that well thought out question answer to our colleague to our viewer question. But my question to you though, Mr. Sapolosia, we understand the True Party didn't do much for Liberia, right? But were you advised though, based on their structure, based on the fact that they ran Liberia for over 100 years, right? Will you advise other political parties to look at what they did to say, hey, we need to figure out what these people did to stay in power this long, but then come up with real solutions like a manifesto or ideas that the party will be based on, so that Liberia can say, all right, Liberians can say, if I vote for this party in the next 10 years, at least I know Liberia will get to this level, right? If I vote for this party the next 15 years, I know Liberia will get to this level. What would be your suggestion for today's show for those that are listening in Liberia, like when they are making their political decision, what should they base it on? And those that have political party, what should they start doing so that we can have a lasting institution, a lasting political institution?
So, I mean, I'm not a historian, but just reading the few that I have read and research that I have done, I would not recommend the strategies that the True Party use, because on the surface it looks like, okay, they were doing good to keep themselves, to keep what our people can see. What when we're growing up, we see them, they go put their money in their family because the man will marry first cousin, second cousin, whatever, to keep the money within that group. Almost the same principle the True Party were using. If you are bright, you Wilson, you Johnson, you Wright, then we can accept you. And if you are Tokpa, when you're coming in, you have to change to Bright and Wilson. So that's a form of oppression. The same thing that they were running away from in America, that they brought to Africa, they brought to Liberia. So I wouldn't suggest that. What I will do is let Liberians, political parties now, or governing system now, look at other African countries that are moving forward. What are they doing? Let them look at what they are doing now to move forward, and we can practice it. We can emulate what they are using, whatever manifesto they are using, whatever. Let's look at Ghana or Rwanda. Whatever development agenda they have, let them review it.
Mm-hmm.
What the guy used in Tanzania. Okay, those kind of manifestos, those are things that you would look at. They look at what Thomas Sankara started before they kill him. Those are things, and those are people that I read about. Okay. I don't waste my time reading about Tottenham because, in my opinion, he did nothing for Liberia. He set us back so many years. That's
so many people would disagree with you on that, but yeah, but again, so I mean, we're looking at Liberia, right? Identity politics in its own would never disappear. We cannot eliminate that from our society at all, right?
No.
But like I said, they have some form of identity, right? So each political party, let's forget the tribalism, let's forget the marginalism, because it was said when certain party people are marginalized, they go towards one political party because they are promoting that value, right? Like say, oh yeah, we're not segregate, we accept everybody. So with us understanding today that identity politics will never go away, right? And we can look at the True Party as the master of identity politics, right? Because they came to power crying that, hey, the people that are ruling this country are all white people, are all mixed race. They can't let people to be part of it, right? Then all of a sudden they took over, and then they stayed in power for almost 100 years. So They had something that they did well, and I'm saying, as a country, or as a country looking to develop a system, don't you think though it's still good for somebody to look at that party and say, hey, they were able to do this for this long. How did they do it, and how can we use this to better, to take the goodness from what they had and make our country better? Because in order for Liberia to develop, the reason I'm saying this, if I bring that picture back up, you will see that we have 4, 5, 6 different presidents, and all of them are from different political parties. So whatever ideologies Charles Taylor stood for, or whatever ideas those stood for, Charles Taylor didn't stand for it, right?
Yes.
Whatever ideas Charles Taylor stood for, Ellen didn't stand for it, right? And Ellen even didn't support her own vice president. So their platform, their political platform as a united party, they didn't even have a system to say, all right, we are united party. If one of ours is going, we will have to support them no matter what. So, and that's where the country feels. So let's say Ellen accomplished so much, and her vice president or her team, those that were in office, supposed to continue that effort. The fact that she changed to a complete new political party kind of killed everything she did. You understand? So what I'm saying is, in order for Liberia to really get to the next level, we need some system, some political party that have a structure, that have a system that will maintain power for maybe 2 or 3 terms in role before that idea can be accomplished. Because Liberia, like example, Ellen started building some market somewhere in Liberia. I think it was in Bon County, and they said that market is no longer being developed. It's just sitting there now, people using it for toilet, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we are finished, whatever project we are is doing, somebody will not, the next president might not even touch the project because they don't want to promote we are. You understand? So my thing is, how can we as a system help to maintain those policies that we have if we don't do some form of identity?
So and I'm not saying we're not going to have identity identity or identifying with political parties that will exist. I'm not saying we're not going to have it. It's not all deep. I mean, identity politics is not all bad. There are some good that are there that we can emulate, right? We can maybe put in our opposition political system. But I mean, when we look at what happened from the 1800 to the late 1900 in the 1980s, in my opinion, I don't see any value that identity politics did for Liberia. Did they do something for the individuals that were involved? Yes. The Todmans, their children, they benefited. Their grandchildren, the Tobos, they benefited. But what's the reflection of that particular identity politics that was practiced? What is the reflection in Bon County? In fact, let not even go way Bon County. Bon County is too far. Right there in Bomi County, that was right close to Monrovia. What did they do for that? Nothing. The only places that you will see that people were a little educated are Rossville, Broadville, Attington, Clay Ashland. But when you go after the places that don't have a Ville or Burt, there is nothing. So in that way, the identity politics had no plan, because we keep it among ourselves. But this is what we do, in my opinion. And like you clearly stated about Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. The reason Ellen Johnson Sirleaf did what she did, because first, you just visited Unity Party website. There was nothing there that the party was running on. So Ellen Johnson Sirleaf had nothing to abide by the Unity Party. And it's a scene with right now with the ANC. One of the formidable force in the opposition. Right now, the AFC does not have a platform that any standard bearer that comes in will bring their platform or their agenda to align with the political parties or agenda. The Union Party had nothing that Ellen Johnson can bring and align hers. So instead of the individual coming to the political party and aligning themselves with the political party, it is the political party that is aligning themselves with the individual. And that is dangerous in our politics. If you don't get rid of that, we're not going to have what you want. That is to have a government that will have some consistency for 3-4 terms. The only way we can do that if political parties can start developing their own and building an institution. What the Chewy Party had was an institution. That's what we can borrow from them. We can
Mhm.
borrow the institution that they had, the policies and things that they formulated and they implemented, so that when the next person come, where I start, he or she can pick up from
And
there.
continue. Yeah, and,
But
and that's
this,
mhm.
yeah, but in our days, the agenda politics that we have does not have any policy. We don't have any political agenda. The only agendas we have is how to come, steal, loot, and go. And then when we leave,
Our time to eat,
yes.
right?
So that's the problem we have. Until we can sit down and build a political institution, it's going to be difficult. If Unity Party had a political institution where they had their policy written and tell Ellen Johnson, if you want to be our standard bearer, this is where you should go by. Then when she's leaving, she will be forced to support. There is no way, like you yourself, we saw what happened with the Republican Party in America. Most of the Republicans did not like Donald Trump. But when he became their standard bearer for the second time, guess what? Most of them fell in line. They
Yeah.
did not publicly go and criticize him because they were going according to their political party manifesto. But we don't have such thing in any other political party. Look at the ANC. You just open the ANC website, all you see is commies, commies, commies. The political party does not have anything outlined that commies can come and say, look, this is what I have. Let us compare what you have and let's go. So anything commies brought is what ANC took. Anything Johnson brought is what Unity Party took. And whatever Bwaka is bringing is what Unity Party is taking.
Mm.
They don't have any agenda.
Hold on. We might be getting a call from Liberia. Let me see.
Okay.
No, keep going. Let me get
Yeah,
off
so until yeah, so to answer your question, the only thing we can borrow, we may be able to borrow from the Two-Way Party is the continuation, because they have policies that they were going by that all anybody who succeeded their presidents will follow the same policy and continue. And another point that you struck regarding Ellen Johnson Sirleaf building a market and is not completing. She did a similar to what Doe did. When Doe built a beautiful building structure that built for the defense ministry there in Congo, she came and she sold it. The central bank government, she sold it. So government in our constitution say is continuation. But for some reason, when opposition political party wins election, then the term continuation becomes black or stuck. So it's no longer continuing. Okay. And you will see it. We saw it under this administration. They accepted all the good from the past administration, but anything that came negative, they said, no, it is not our fault. Let us go back to America. 2008, when Obama took over, when he won the election, 2009, he was in office. There was a recession.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that happened during Bush time, it became the responsibility of Obama. Okay. And he accepted it and went with it. However, in Liberia's situation, the only thing they can accept is the good of the other political party. Even those that serve in that government don't accept, they will accept the good, but when the negative come, oh no, I was an old car parking in the garage, I was not part of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to have a country that will run smoothly and keep moving, if a government leaves, they should not be thinking about my policy. They should be thinking about policy that benefit the country. Why it is true, every government has this agenda. But let's say if I was building a hospital, the hospital, when it's built, it's not going to serve George Weah. It's going to serve the Liberian people. So
Yeah.
if you come in, complete that hospital so that the Liberian people can benefit from it. You can't come and leave it and just leave it undone.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Sapolosia, we on top of the hour. If you were to leave one thing with everybody running for office or everybody that have a political party, what would you say to them, at least to help Liberia for the future? Because this is sad for us to have multiple political party. Every election, somebody come up with a political party. Every election, we have hundreds of people running for president, and nobody's trying to be part of somebody else's team to make this country better, you know. And what will you say to our political party or people that might be future political aspirants as we close?
So what I will advise us as Liberians first are the electorates. Please try to start getting yourself familiar with your election laws. Educate yourself on the policies that these people who are coming to you asking for your power, the power that you're going to give them. Ask them what are the policies that they are bringing, what they are presenting, how can the country benefit, not how I can benefit. Because if you continue to think about you, the man can give you a bag of rice and you be satisfied for that day. But think about how can your great grandchildren that are not alive can benefit from that person's policy? That is how Liberia will start moving forward. That is to the electorates. To political parties, you need to start building institutions, not individualistic idea. Let us build political parties built on silver society needs, community needs, right? That will benefit the masses, not me. It is not about me or you. It is about us. If Liberia shall rise, all Liberian political parties have to be an institutional, lies-based political party. Anything on the contrary, we will continue going the road we are heading. So to all aspirants, it is not late. It is time that we start investing in educating our people about our political parties, showing agendas that we want to fulfill, and start forming actual opposition political parties. And the only way you establish an opposition political party is having policies driven agendas that will hold the elected or those in office accountable. Because if you have something to compare them to, then you can hold it accountable. But if you look at your page and you look at your paper is blank, there is nothing you can ask the man in leadership about. You can't tell him, hey, why are you not building this road? When you can't show him how to build a road. Hey, why are you not bringing the price of rice down when you yourself don't have anything on paper indicating how you can bring the price of rice down? So these are things political parties need to start doing. Building institutions, not on individual. As you build your institution, have policies and guidelines or agendas that those people that are coming with the money and saying, hey, I want to run on your party, that they can use your political policy, your political agenda, your political party agenda, and align it with theirs. If it doesn't align, let him go with his money. But stand up for Liberia. And Liberia first means all Liberians involved in the development of Liberia and all Liberians enjoying the resources of Liberia. With that, I say thank you for joining us today. Please share, and we are grateful and honored to have you as part of Liberia Shall Rise. And if Liberia Shall Rise, we all need to be involved in the politics of Liberia. Thank you.